Hello and welcome to our New Mexico history class. In this video, I want to walk you through the syllabus. So I just wanted to have my little talking head here to introduce you to what the video is, and then I will minimize it or actually just get it out of the way while I talk through the syllabus. But what I want to do here then is just show you some of the key elements of the syllabus and features here, and also talk about how our course is structured. All right. So, as you can see, the syllabus is open. Hopefully, you've already found this. If you found this video, you should be really near the link to the syllabus. You can notice there are a couple of folks who are looking at the syllabus right now, or at least have it open on their computers at this point as I'm making this video. So that's good. Um, Key information, as usual, at the beginning. I will be mostly at home, working from home, but I will also, especially during the second week of the class, be on campus at Westside from time to time. So if you would like to meet up to discuss anything in person and you are on the West Side or can make it to the West Side, that would be great. If not, you can use this Zoom link or the one in the Start Here section of our course to jump onto Zoom with me weekday mornings at 9 or by appointment. And then there is my email address, Twitter handle, and text message number. I'm not going to read through all of these things because you can do that on your own time. But we will be looking at New Mexico history from a number of different angles, thinking about New Mexico's first people, the indigenous people who are still, very much part of our culture. And of our state demographics. We're going to talk about colonization and Spanish and Anglo settlers, as well as African Americans and other folks who are part of New Mexico's shared cultures, communities, and histories. As I scroll down here, course materials, this is a link to our digital textbook. And this link here will open a PDF that gives you the coupon code so that you can access that digital textbook. Please do not buy it. Again, you've already paid for it in your fees for our course. History is based on reading and writing, and I am here to help you with that. So if you have any concerns, you need any help, please just let me know. I'm happy to work with you as much as I possibly can. The only thing is you need to reach out and let me know that you need some help because of the nature of our class. It's asynchronous, it's online. I have no way of knowing that you need help if you don't let me know in some way, shape, or form. In addition to our objectives of distinguishing between different kinds of sources and identifying historical interpretations and arguments, I hope that you'll also have an epiphany, that you'll gain some empathy for others through the engaged history of New Mexico, that you will deepen your understanding of people of other cultures, ethnicities, and backgrounds. These are some of the things that are not measurable, quote unquote, that are super important as we study history, and in particular, New Mexico history, I think. You can read this section for teaching and learning during a pandemic. What I really want to hammer home here is that I have empathy for you all. My motto is to trust students, and I'm here to work with you. I know that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, that the Omicron variant is surging, and what we need now is kindness, understanding, and those kinds of approaches as we work together to learn about not just history, but anything else that we're working on. Here are some another statement about navigation of the course, communication, and connection. Importantly, if you don't have access to a computer or Wi-Fi, there's some information about that. It might be a little more difficult than it would otherwise be because of the break to get access to those things through CNM, but there is some availability. So do check that out. And I think especially on the 27th, I believe that main campus will be open for some services if needed. Our course is not self-paced. You can work ahead, but that means you need to make sure to go back to respond to folks in the discussions if you've chosen to complete those, or to complete the connection step on the timeline. You will need to plan time every day to dedicate to our class. You'll be earning, full 3 credits New Mexico history humanities requirement for Gen Ed through this course. in 14 days. So that means we're going to have to put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of work to get there, to achieve those outcomes. So you should plan on between 3 to 6 hours per day. Some days there'll be a little less, some a little more. Both Sundays of our course will be dedicated to two halves of our final project, sort of like a midterm project and a final project that can be completed on that day. But as with everything else in our course, nothing is closed. So in other words, all of the modules are open. You can work through them at your own pace, as long as you make sure that you have a schedule that's working for you and that you go back and make responses as appropriate. All right. No regularly scheduled meeting times. Like I said, we can make appointments for Zoom. If you can't meet during my regularly scheduled office hours, I do accept late work with no penalty, mostly because, I believe anything and everything that you can accomplish in 2 weeks is amazing. You should get credit for it. The most important thing is that you're learning and engaging with New Mexico history, and learning more about our shared past. And so if you're doing that, even if some assignments are late, that's no problem. Do communicate with me to let me know what kinds of support you might need. Also, the final due date of the class is the final due date. That's the one deadline that I have to be hard and fast with. I have to submit grades on Monday, the 10th of January. So that means that by midnight on the 9th, that is when everything has to be submitted. I can't take any work after that point. Here's one of my main pedagogical values and themes. Studying is not about consuming ideas, but about creating and recreating them. And so I hope that the assignments that we have set up will give us an opportunity to do that. So this section of the syllabus kind of walks through big picture what we'll be doing in our class. Unit 1, as you're getting used to knowing, as you're working through that probably at this point in time, focuses on getting acquainted with the course, thinking about history as a discipline, doing some introductions, and so on. For units 2 through 6, you will be doing a set of activities that are based on identifying key events, issues, and themes, and then some activities on the second day that are dedicated to analysis activities. So each unit lasts for 2 days. The first day you'll do the reading, you'll watch some videos, you'll complete your reading tweets, which are essentially your notes on the reading you'll do instead of a reading quiz or something like that. You'll post to the timeline. So that's the first step of the timeline assignment. And if you decide to do the discussion, you might get started on that during the first day if you're a little ahead, but that's something that can be done the second day. During the second day of each unit, then, you'll be doing some analysis. So you'll go back to the timeline and you will make a connection. You will complete either the discussion or the journal entry on the second day of the unit. So you choose whether to do one or the other. You don't have to do both, the discussion or the journal. And of course, I've just ran through a bunch of different types of assignments. You can click on each of these links to read the assignment instructions for all of those things. So essentially in each unit, we'll be doing the same work, the same assignments with a different set of readings. So you'll do reading tweets for every unit. You'll do a timeline for every unit. You'll do a journal or a discussion board for every unit 2 through 6. Do note that the lowest reading tweets and the lowest discussion or journal will be dropped. So I'll show you how I've taken that into account when I get to the grading section. Final projects, as I alluded to, we're not doing an exam, but there are kind of 2 parts of a final project in which you will assume the role of a historical journalist. You can click here to see the scenario and the instructions for the first one. I'm still completing the second one, but once I've done that, there will be a link embedded here to that one as well. Both of those are going to be available via the modules within Brightspace as well. And as you'll note, actually, I didn't make note of it here. Both of these projects, you will be a historical journalist. You will imagine yourself as a witness to or participant in historical events based on 2 different scenarios. The first one has to do with the Pueblo Revolt. The second one has to do with women's suffrage, the fight for women's suffrage in New Mexico around the turn of the 20th century. Each of these will be no longer than 275 words. So we're working on concise writing with these projects. and they're 100 points each. So again, instead of exams, these are the things we'll be doing. And they'll both be due. One will be due on the first Sunday of our term together, so January 2nd, and the second one on the last day of class, Sunday, January 9th. There's an extra credit film review assignment that you can do on the Milagro Beanfield War. Excuse me. You can click here to find the details about that. Please do read through some of these. Are my teaching philosophies about public work. A lot of what we're doing will be on Twitter. The timeline isn't public so much as Twitter is, in that only members of our class will really be looking at our timeline on TikTok. But if you would like to use a pseudonym on Twitter, if you really just can't be on Twitter, let me know. There's an alternate way of doing the reading tweets on the discussion board, so that you don't have to be on Twitter. Twitter can be fun and engaging. It does help us to work on concise writing, and so I still think it's valuable in all of those ways. But again, I understand that there are very legitimate reasons not to be on Twitter. So do have that conversation with me if you're in that boat, or if you have any questions about how to engage with Twitter. Please read through our plagiarism policy. Of course, you can find CNM's academic integrity policy. But here I was borrowing the ideas of Jesse Stommel, who does the digital pedagogy lab that I've attended a couple of times. And he's helping us understand we should be reading other people's stuff, right? We should be taking ideas and thinking about ideas, not just stealing them and rewriting them word for word, but actually adding to them, turning them on their head, thinking through them. That's the creation and recreation of knowledge that Pablo Freire was talking about in that quote above. So please do note, that you should be engaging with other people's work, right? Especially as historians, but to avoid just stealing anyone else's work. All right. I am Safe Zone certified faculty member. I'm here to support you in any way that I can. You can contact me confidentially about anything that I can support you with in that regard. My goal really is to help all of us to be successful and to maintain a safe and equitable campus online for our situation in this intersession. Grading. Here are the assignment totals. You'll note that I subtracted 110 here. So that's the dropped reading tweets and journal discussion. So, essentially, just the points for one of those will not be accounted for in the total for the course. The grade book in Brightspace is going to be a little bit difficult to track your progress in, just because it'll say there's like 2,000 something points possible, probably because you have options with the journal and discussion and so on. So as long as you're figuring your score out of a possible total of 1180, that's how you should calculate your grade. And that's how I will do it for final grades in our course. Here is, I should say, information about various kinds of special accommodations and resources that are available through CNM on campus, also online. Please take advantage of any of those things and let me know if you have questions or if I can help. All right. Importantly, here is the course schedule. So this is kind of a general overview, big picture of what we're doing each day in our class. And as I mentioned, each of our units lasts for 2 days. This first one is the 27th and 28th. All of the work is listed in the Unit 1 module inside of Brightspace. And so please let me know if you have questions about that or if you need any help. Here you'll find the readings. The required readings are the 3 that are listed at the beginning, and then there are always optional readings that it's awesome if you get to those, or if you want to maybe save them, put them aside for later once our class is over, since we don't have a lot of time, especially if there's something you're particularly interested in. That's what they're there for. These are the resources that you'll use to complete the reading tweets and the timeline and the discussion or journal in each unit. And again, as you walk through the learning modules in Brightspace, there's a lot more detail about how to do all of that. Unit 3, this is the New Year's holiday. And so what I've done here is I've made only the reading tweets required. So you should still do the reading so that we can understand what's going on during the Reconquest and the Mexican period in New Mexico's past. But the timeline and the discussion or journal are extra credit in Unit 3. So as long as you've done the reading tweets, you're good for Unit 3 unless you want to get some extra credit. Moving on, our first final project will come on January 2nd. So that is just one day set aside for the historical journalism activity on the Pueblo Revolt. You can click here to find the details on that, and it's due at the end of the day on January 2nd. There are no additional projects or assignments on that day, and so that's also a time once you've done the project, you can go ahead and also work on anything that you've missed. I mentioned that there's no penalty for late work, so that's again what you can do there. As you'll notice, these are essentially the same structure, just different topics and different readings for each unit. So here we're doing the U.S.-Mexico War and the early territorial period. Unit 5 has to do with resistance, so figures like Las Guerras Blancas and the long struggle for statehood in New Mexico. Unit 6 covers the Great Depression to the present, so it's quite a bit of time all at once. But that's essentially what we're doing all term long in our intersession. I wish we had more time for a lot of these topics because so many of them are just fascinating. And then finally, the second part of the final project on voting rights will be coming soon. Everything is due by Sunday, January 9th at 11:59 p.m. There's some information at the end on technology requirements if you need it. And again, as I've mentioned here and in other videos that I've posted to our course, please don't hesitate to ask questions whenever you have them. Even if you send a question or an email at 11:30 at night or 1:30 in the morning, I'll respond to it the next day. I will not be on my computer at that point in time, but I will respond the next morning and get you an answer as soon as I can. So I understand that some of us will be working at very different times from one another, and that's fine. You can take a deep breath, and it's okay to be patient. Even if it means that a deadline slips by because you were waiting for me to answer a question, that's fine. You can wait, get your answer, and then finish up whatever you were working on based on the answer that you needed, if that makes sense. All right. Hopefully that helps with the syllabus. Please let me know if you have questions, if you need help, and I look forward to getting to know you better through all of our assignments.